So I have a friend, her name is Jamie. She's also my coworker. She's been a family ministry pastor for about 20 plus years. And this past Easter, Jamie found out that I had never in my whole life had an Easter egg hunt. And she thought that was absolutely unacceptable. And so she decided to give me my very own Easter egg hunt. So one evening when I was out, she took the key to my home and she spent about an hour hiding chocolate eggs all over the place. The next morning, when I delightfully decided to do my hunt, I did some calculations. And Jamie is what I would consider vertically challenged. And I decided that she could not reach anything above my head. And so I did not decide to search above eye level. Which is why 3-4 weeks later, even as I finish this talk, I am still finding chocolate eggs on top of bookshelves and on top of picture frames. It never occurred to me that Jamie might use a chair and actually just reach up high and hide things that way. I had a moment where I realized that my limited acceptance of Jamie actually prevented me from stepping into the hunt that she had formed for me. And sometimes we have ideas that actually limit us and prevent us from stepping into the areas that we're invited into in front of us. I began my journey into ministry coming from a background with very limited views of women in ministry. I also stepped into a context that had very limited views of women in ministry. But I realized that as I had a lot of voices speaking into who I should be, who I could be, whether I was allowed to be doing what I'm doing or not, that there was one voice that was louder than all of them, one voice that was even louder than God's, and that was my own. I had a very limited view of what I was allowed to do and who I was. And I found myself asking about 1.5 years into my ministry, I paused and I said to God, did you make a mistake? Did you make a mistake when you made me a woman? And you gave me these gifts and these abilities and this desire to communicate and then package me in a female body. And the moment I asked that question, I actually sensed rather than heard his response. And I felt his immense sadness that I would even question his creation of me. And that he had no limits on his idea of me, but instead had created me in a certain way with a particular gift set, a particular way of articulating and living in the gospel, and put me in a female body. When Jesus talks about and invites his disciples to love your neighbor as yourself, the implication there is we know what it means to love ourselves. You know what it means to love yourself. And I wonder if we struggle with our ability to love our neighbor because we struggle with our ability to fully understand what it means to love ourselves. I don't really think that loving yourself is a simple, reluctant acceptance of who you are or kind of an affirmation, because love is about embrace. It's about full arms, full out. And also I would go so far as to say a delightful romp in figuring out who you are. I think that is what love is. And I just wonder if we have a limited ability to love our neighbor because we have actually been living out of a limited ability to love and accept and delightfully romp in who we are. And so I wonder for us, particularly here as women leading, that our ability to love ourselves actually creates space to love our neighbors and to love other people and help them delightfully discover, romp, go on that hunt for who they are in Christ. And I wonder if actually even our vision of Easter, the Easter story, isn't limited to an Easter egg hunt or to that story that is told once a year, but is actually an invitation that happens every day when a Christ follower wakes up and decides to discover who they are and live in the body they've been called, which means that everywhere they go is life's postal code, and they're everybody's neighbor. And then you can love your neighbor as yourself.